I have been thinking a lot about marketing. I've been talking a lot about marketing. And today I wanted to break down the exact strategy that I would use as an entrepreneur that doesn't have a team and is wanting to be on multiple platforms. So today we're going to nerd out on all things marketing.
This is the Authentic Brand Builders Podcast with Michelle Knight.
Hey, Authentic Brand Builder, welcome back to the podcast. I'm really jazzed that you are here because today we are breaking it down. I want to give you the exact marketing strategy that I would follow if I were you and I didn't have a huge budget and I didn't have a team to help me distribute all of my content. Now, in order to do this, in order to give you the game plan, we first need to talk about marketing. And we need to talk about the different areas of marketing that we need to be hitting with our strategy. One thing that I see happening a lot online is there's a lot of conversation around your content strategy, your content creation. And if you don't understand what marketing really is or how to use marketing to build your business, then your content strategy isn't going to work. It's ultimately just going to be kind of like a Band-Aid. So sometimes I get a little cringe when I see people talk about like, oh, get my content calendar and you'll be able to show up consistently, or just show up on this platform and follow these tips and tricks and you'll suddenly be, marketing like a pro. It just doesn't work like that. And you probably know that if you have tried some of those things before. So my approach to marketing is to always go at like the grassroots level. What is marketing? How do we use marketing? What are the different things that we need to be hitting every single day in our marketing strategy? Now, I did a video on this a few years ago where I really broke it down, and the video had images and graphics and all kinds of different things. So if you want to go watch that complete breakdown of marketing, really in depth, we're going to go ahead and link those in the show notes over on the Brandmerry blog and also here on the YouTube channel. So this is going to be, we're going to touch on those things. But again, if marketing's really new to you or you're just wanting to teach me all the things, Michelle, go check out that video, okay? Because it takes a much deeper dive into this topic. We also have a blog that breaks it down. We'll link all of that in the show notes. So let's first talk about my approach to marketing and something that I have been using in my business for about 6 years now. And that is an emphasis on evergreen search engine optimized content. This is different than what a lot of people teach when it comes to marketing, as in just show up on social media or just post a blog and then just kind of cross your fingers and hope it all works out, or just use Pinterest and it'll, suddenly everything will fall into place. I don't believe in using one channel. I, again, go against the grain in saying you need to have an omni-channel approach. Today, 2024, beyond, this has been happening for a while, but definitely now and beyond, you have got to be showing up on multiple platforms. But how do you do that without a huge team? How do you do that without a huge budget? That's what we're going to be breaking down in just a few minutes. So in order to do this efficiently, in order to make sure that the content that you're spending your precious time creating is actually getting seen, not just for 24 hours, not just for a week or a month, but for years to come, you really need to be focusing on at least one evergreen SEO-optimized platform. This looks like any platform you would go to perform a search. So think Google, that's kind of the top tier, bad boy right there. Pinterest, I already talked about them. They're a search engine. All of their content is organized by keywords. So if you type something in the search bar, you're going to get results that match that search term. YouTube, fantastic, also owned by Google. So there you go. And podcasting platforms, to some extent, they definitely are searchable, but I like to pair podcasting with a blog just to, get a double whammy there. And then TikTok. Although TikTok is considered a social media platform, their SEO game is so freaking strong. Now, don't come at me and say, well, Instagram is working on SEO and Instagram has got hashtags. And Yeah, but they're just not there. They're just not there yet. And so you really want to prioritize one of these platforms. Now, I'm even going to remove TikTok from the mix, although I think it's really awesome with what they've got going on with SEO. You have to have a lot of capacity to show up and do well on that platform, posting multiple times a day, multiple times a week. And I don't think that that's really sustainable for a solopreneur that doesn't have a huge team. My opinion, take it or leave it. Okay, so that you really want to make sure that you have one of those platforms in your content stack. Now, I talked about a content stack last week when we were talking about repurposing. Your content stack is really showing up on multiple platforms like we've talked about, and a purpose behind each of those platforms. So your Evergreen SEO platform, the purpose would really be brand awareness because it is a discoverable platform. New people can find your content, people with a higher purchase intent, people who are searching for something you specifically specialize in, bringing in new leads on a regular basis. That's the idea. Then you also want to make sure that you're hitting this brand attraction phase, which is your mid-tier, and your brand connection phase, which is, of course, building trust and someone ultimately making the sale, or staying in your world after a purchase, referring their friends, and continuing to purchase from you. That is my sweet spot. I love that spot, the brand connection phase. So those are the 3 phases, and you want to make sure that your marketing strategy is hitting on each of those phases every single day by using your content. Now, your content can be multi-purposeful, meaning that yes, I can create one YouTube video with the intent that it is going to reach a new audience thanks to SEO, but it's also going to work really well when I email it to my existing audience and I send it to my email list and I say, hey, go watch this video. It's building trust, it's building connection there. And I can also use that YouTube video to obviously talk about a paid program or a service. So anyone who's at the brand connection phase can now watch this video, the trust is built, and now they're ready to make a purchase decision. So hitting these 3 points doesn't always mean that you need to be creating 3 different pieces of content every day. In fact, don't do that. Don't do that, okay? That's a waste of time. Instead, be really strategic with your content stack. Now, in my opinion, this is the most sustainable strategy. I've been using this strategy for many years. In the beginning on accident, because I wanted to experiment with a bunch of different platforms, so I did that. But then after a few years, I started to really see, wow, these platforms are working in such different ways. If I could be more strategic with how I was using each of these platforms, then I could really create an awesome content stack that just relies on me creating one piece of core content every week, repurposing that content like a pro, and getting leads, traffic, sales, conversions, all the things on a consistent basis. So I think it's really important that we have that conversation about marketing and the big picture of marketing before I jump into this suggestion for you, because you need to understand how they all fit together in order to implement this marketing strategy. Okay, so let's get into it. The very first part of your marketing strategy is to design your core content. Hopefully you've heard me talk about this before, especially if you listen to the podcast. I talked about core content last week on the podcast, all about repurposing. But this is essentially the weekly content that you will create that is long form content and is on an evergreen SEO platform, just like I said. This is going to be the easiest strategy for you. And so while there is some flexibility with where you show up or the type of content you create, I'm giving you what I would recommend, right? What I would 100% do if I were you, with no team, no huge budget, not a lot of time to create content. This is exactly what I would do. So one piece of core content on an SEO evergreen platform. Your choice though, all right? Your choice. It could be a blog, so long form written content. It could be audio. It could be a podcast, right? Or it could be a video. Now, with the video, there is a bit of a caveat here because I want to talk about your time and your capacity. When it comes to video marketing, I'm not talking about short form video. Yes, powerful. Yes, we'll talk about it. Yes, it's great for a repurposing strategy, but not as a core content strategy like we're talking about today. So the video needs to be long form. Now that leaves us with 2 options. One, pre-recorded content like you are hopefully watching right now on YouTube, or you can see on my YouTube channel, or live content. There are pros and cons to both of these. Pre-recorded content is obviously edited. It can be shorter, it can be snappy, it can kind of get to the point depending on how you set up your content, and it works really well on YouTube. However, it does take some knowledge and some time when it comes to editing. So if you're really great at editing and you're quick, or you're using a tool like Descript to use AI to edit your video, then this can work really well for you. But if you are not really great with technology and you feel like this is just one more thing for you to do, an option here could be to go live on either YouTube or a social media platform. Now, even though you're not using an evergreen platform with your core content, we will then be repurposing it to an evergreen platform. So you would take that live video and then you would repurpose it maybe on YouTube, or you could transcribe it and put it on the blog. So lots of different options here, but I wanted to talk about that because a lot of people are like, video, I love video. And then they forget that there's this whole editing situation that happens with most videos. For years, I would go live on Facebook once a week. I've also gone live on Instagram. I personally really enjoy going live on YouTube because then it lives on your YouTube channel. So whatever works for you, just keep that in mind when we're talking about video. So you need to choose one of these to serve as your core content. Okay. So let's say that you choose blogging as your core content. Now we are going to choose additional platforms that you're going to be able to push that content out on. Now your blog, lucky for you, is on your website, which you own. It also can work when it's optimized for SEO to show up and bring people in via Google. Sometimes that can take a while, but it's really nice to have this content on your website that you own, and it's always there to help move someone through the consumer buying journey. The second platform that I would add if you are blogging would be Pinterest. So you would blog for 30 days, you'd get yourself into a rhythm once a week, then you would add Pinterest. Why Pinterest? Again, it's just going to get your blog content in front of more people. Pinterest is such an amazing platform. Been using it for years, brings thousands and thousands of subscribers to my website every single month, sometimes upwards between 10 to 16,000 from Pinterest alone. Now, I'm going to talk a bit more when we get into the next step about how to make your life a lot easier on Pinterest, but just know that Pinterest does not have to be overly complicated. I teach my clients how to use Pinterest inside of Brandmerry Academy. I also teach them how to use their blog and set up SEO on their website. Pretty much everything that I'm covering inside of this marketing strategy is also taught inside of Brandmerry Academy. But don't let Pinterest scare you. It's such a powerful platform and it can work wonders for you, especially if you have a blog. Okay, we're at this second part of the process, right? We talked about if you have a blog as your core content, this next step would be Pinterest. Now, if you have a podcast or a video, if you chose that as your core content, your next step would be the blog, okay? I really believe that everyone should have their content, their long form content on their website. But I also know that not everyone is a natural writer. And there are even times when I don't want to sit down and write. I do much better recording audio or recording a video. And so if you're like me, then this is the next step for you. So if you choose to do a podcast, there are two options for you. You can either transcribe the podcast audio and put that up on your website. The problem with this sometimes is it's not organized and it can take a lot of time to go through the transcript. So the second option, and what we use here at Brandmerry, is to upload your podcast to a platform like Descript and then ask it to transcribe it and then ask it to use its amazing AI tool to write a blog post. This is so freaking awesome. I wish I had this years ago when I would spend hours trying to fix a transcript and make it work for a blog. So freaking great. Descript, hands down, is the best platform I've found for this, and I've tested a lot. You then will have a really organized blog post with a title, with an intro, with headers, with different paragraphs. So if someone does come to your website, your SEO is working for you, or they just prefer to read over listen to a podcast, they've got the information that they need. It's a really, really great strategy. And again, it allows you to just have more content-rich information on your website. And you're not creating anything new. You're just taking the podcast that you recorded, transcribing it, making a blog post, putting it up there, and now you are showing up on a podcast platform and your blog. The same works for your video. So if you are going to record a live video, you can transcribe that, turn it into a blog post, put it over on the blog using the exact footage that you already had. We're just making it written. If you did a YouTube video, you follow the exact same process. Again, I use Descript for all of this. If you want to check out Descript, you can go ahead and check it out in the show notes or the link below this YouTube video. So now we've got your core content and we've talked about your second tier, okay? Now we get to expand a little bit more, and these are the different platforms that I would definitely be adding to the mix and how I would be showing up on those platforms. The next platform that I would use would be some sort of social media platform. Now, the reason I suggest this is because social media tends to be where we go when we want to get to know someone a little bit more. I talk with my clients about it being a personal portfolio. So if you discover my website via Google, you might go to a specific resource that is really great and you like it, but then you're like, oh, who is this person really? Let's check out their social media. So they come over to Instagram. Or you watch a video over on YouTube and you're like, I wonder what this person's like behind the scenes. I want to get to know them a little bit more. You're probably going to follow me on social media. Same with the podcast, okay? So it doesn't matter how you discover me. We want to know what a person is ultimately like and maybe get more like micro-size information about them, about their brand, about what they do, and that typically happens on Instagram. So I like to think of Instagram being the top one, but obviously could be Facebook, could be TikTok, as a way to showcase your brand authority, showcase your brand empathy, but also showcase who you are as a person so you can start to build that know, like, and trust factor with your audience. Now, here's the beautiful thing about this strategy and using Instagram in this third tier is because you can now take the transcript of whatever you've created or the blog post. Remember, we either have a written blog post or we've got a transcript at this point in time, and you can turn that into multiple social media posts. I know, right? Okay, so good. So again, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to repurpose in today's day and age because we have these awesome AI tools. So one of the tools that I like to use at this point in time is called ChatGPT. Have you heard of it? I'm sure you have. Everybody is talking about it online. This is my favorite way to use it, in my opinion, the best way to use it, because when you feed ChatGPT some information, it just does not get it. But when you feed it your original work and you give it parameters to follow and you ask it to break this up into a carousel post or take this blog post and turn it into 3 different quote templates or take this blog post and give me some reel ideas. Again, you're using your original work, the stuff that you have created, and then just being really smart about repurposing it. So at this third tier, I would recommend showing up on social media 3 to 5 times a week. If you want to do more, fantastic. I think 3 is the bare minimum. And here is an example of a schedule that I would follow. Day 1, I would post a carousel, okay? Day 2, I would post a reel. Day 3, I would post a personal glimpse into your life, a teaching moment, but it's a personal picture, right? It's a picture of you, your story. It could be a story post. This is kind of like let inspiration flow kind of thing. It can be related to the blog, or it could just be like a fill-in. Number 4 is another reel, and number 5 could either be another reel or a story. Now, I know I keep talking about reels and I keep talking about short form video, and you're like, but I don't wanna, but we gotta, okay? It's really important if we are wanting to not only create content for our existing audience, but also reach new people. And this is the best way to do it. Now, I recommend at least 2 reels a week. 3 would be great. But if you also are someone who's really into brand storytelling, like myself, you love digital storytelling, you love sharing your personal experiences and tying them back to your business, those work really well as well. They're not as shareable, but they tend to get the best engagement, in my opinion. So if you're keeping track, we've got 5 days of content ideas here. The carousel and at least 2 of the reels can be repurposed from the blog post, from the podcast, or from the video. Completely your choice. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're taking the content that we've already created and then we're creating additional content from that. This is not copying and pasting. This is summarizing. It's pulling out a really important part. It's reiterating something you've already said, or maybe expanding on it outside of the blog, adding in a personal story, adding in storytelling by using B-roll and short form video. Now, if you created video content at your core, then you can use an amazing tool called Opus Clip Pro to actually splice up that video using AI and then share those as reels. So powerful. Love it so much. Use it all the time. But if you don't have original video footage, let's say you recorded an audio or you went with the blog, then again, you can just use ChatGPT to give you some ideas, or you can just read through your transcript yourself or make a few notes on some real ideas. Put some text over a video of you walking your dog. Okay? Or working at your desk, or sit down and just do a talking head video where you explain 3 reasons why this is important. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. And what I find so interesting is because of Instagram, because the nature of Instagram, not everything gets the same reach. I mean, you felt that. I know I feel it hard. So I might make a reel that shares 3 tips for repurposing your content. And it might reach couple hundred people, let's say, get a little bit of engagement. Am I really going to let it stop there? Absolutely not. So a couple days later, or maybe the next week, I could turn that exact same content into a carousel post, which then suddenly gets even more reach and more engagement. It depends on the time of day. It depends on the day of the week. It depends on the type of content. It depends how people feel. All right? So don't sell yourself short and say, well, I already have this on my blog. Why would I share this on Instagram as well? Because you're a smart marketer. That's why. Okay, I promised you that I would share how to make Pinterest really, really easy, and I'm going to do that right now. So I mentioned before that if you have a blog as your core content, Pinterest is your next step. Hands down, next step. If you have video or podcast as your core content and you're transcribing to the blog, add Pinterest at some point in time, please. Like, Pinterest just works for all businesses, and I really love it, and it's just a really smart way to market your business, and it doesn't have to take a ton of time every single week. One of the ways that I really optimize my time on Pinterest is reusing some of this content that I make for Instagram. So did you know that you can take a carousel post that you make in Canva, resize it, and schedule it on Pinterest? Sometimes these types of pins get a much bigger reach than my static pins do, and engagement and clicks. So that's one way that you can reuse your content. Remember, it's being discovered on Pinterest. It's optimized for SEO on that platform. So new people are finding it. It's here at brand awareness. Your Instagram content is down here. It's reaching people who have already followed you, who are already engaging with you. So you don't have to worry about like everybody seeing the same content everywhere you go. If someone follows you on every platform, good for them. I doubt they're going to get mad that they're seeing things more than once. Another type of content that works really well is short form video on Pinterest. Did you know that? Now, it used to be called idea pins. Some people still have it listed as idea pins when they go to upload their content on Pinterest. I'm one of those people on my desktop, but it just says pin on my phone. So I might call it an idea pin, but it's essentially video content. I love sharing my video content over on Pinterest. Again, reaching a brand new audience, optimized for SEO, repurposing the exact same video that I might have posted on Instagram that didn't get crazy reach, and then I posted over on Pinterest and I'm getting a couple thousand views. It's really powerful to reuse your content in this way. So if you're following this strategy, then it's already giving you 3 Pinterest posts a week because you had the 1 carousel anyway and the 2 reels. And then you can create 2 more static pins that send people over to the blog. And that's it. There you go. Now, there's obviously more advanced strategies to this. There are ways to expand and get, backlog your content and get more creative with it. But this is the bare bones. And you're probably sitting there going, all right, I got it. It's broken down. You might be a little nervous. You might be like, this sounds like it's going to take a lot of time. Get started. I promise you that it's your mindset because it does have a lot of moving parts. I totally get that. It's one of the reasons why I support my clients inside of Brandmerry Academy with not only learning how to master each of these platforms, organizing all of it, and being efficient. I promise you it sounds scarier than it actually is. And once you start creating a rhythm around it, you're going to discover that, holy moly, not only am I more clear and organized with my content strategy, but I know that it's working for me on a high-end marketing level. And that's what I really want for you. This isn't about downloading a content calendar. This isn't about getting 30 different content idea tips for you. Like, those can be helpful. I provide a lot of that inside of the academy. This is about really understanding how your content strategy works to support your bigger marketing goals. And I hope that this was really helpful for you in understanding how this can work for you if you don't have a ton of time, a budget. We didn't talk anything about ads here, or hiring team members. This can all be done on your own, depending on your capacity. Now, if you want to go deeper into repurposing, I did talk a little bit more about some of my favorite tools in an episode 2 weeks ago. I also broke down a little bit more about workflow in last week's episode. So definitely check out those episodes. We'll link them below, and you can go a little bit deeper into all of these different concepts. But if you really are ready to master your marketing in this way, you're really tired of limiting yourself to social media, trying to stay consistent with it, because I think social media is the hardest part about running a business, if I'm being honest. If you're ready to do something bigger, to think bigger, to make sure that you are setting yourself and your business up in a way that's more sustainable, should you need a break, should you want to go on vacation, should you just want to take the summer off like your girl, this is really the best strategy, because this content is going to keep performing for you. It's going to continuously drive people to your website, get in front of new people, lead people to your lead magnet, your offers, and make sales even when you're not working. If you're ready for all of that, go ahead and check out Brandmerry Academy. Doors are currently open. You can join this monthly membership over at brandmerry.com/academy. And I'll be back with another episode next week. Thanks so much for joining me. If this episode was helpful for you, head over to Instagram and let me know. I love to hear from you, and I want to keep creating content like this if it is serving you at the highest level. Thanks again, Authentic Brand Builder, and I'll catch you next week.